Can you guys hear me? Okay, just quick show of hands. Developers, vendors, VCs, who's in the room here? Developers? 3 of you? 4 of you? Vendors? A couple of you? Okay, so thanks for coming. Thanks for finding Ballroom A. It took me a while to locate it. I did do it. We had a recce session yesterday to try and figure out where everything was. So my name is Terry Angelos. I'm the co-founder and president of TrialPay. We're a pioneer of the value exchange model that powers offer walls. Probably the largest reward platform out there on web and Facebook. I work with about 5 of the top 10 mobile developers and reach about 100 million consumers a day. So that's a quick background on TrialPay. But today, our discussion isn't about TrialPay per se. I wanted to touch on a broader theme, which is how is online and offline, how are these two worlds merging, and the opportunity that we see specifically for gamers as that begins to happen. So, when they asked Willie Sutton, the notorious American bank robber, apparently had a 40-year career robbing banks, why he went to the banks, it was a pretty simple answer. That's where the money is. And we feel the same way about offline. Today, 95% of all commerce happens offline. And that isn't because e-commerce isn't working and growing. It is. It grows about 15 to 20% every year. And it isn't because people don't spend time online. They do, over 3 hours a day, and most of it on mobile. It's because that's where I buy my coffee. That's where I get my Chipotle burrito for lunch. That's where I fill up for gas. I go to the Home Depot and actually check out the 2x4s before I actually buy them online. So US consumers alone spend about $2.5 trillion in stores every year. So our focus today is, how does that opportunity impact online and specifically apps? So I'll start off with a pretty interesting research that we did. Actually, not Starbucks, but Burger King. So Burger King spends about $300 million a year in advertising. But if you do a Google search for a burger online, there are 0 paid ads for burger. So no Burger King, no McDonald's, no In-N-Out, 0. And that's because they can't figure out how to connect an online customer to an in-store transaction. By comparison, if you were to do a search for banana slicer, a significantly smaller market than the burger market, there literally are a half dozen ads. Amazon, eBay, Williams-Sonoma now sells banana slicers. And that's because they can figure out how many people actually click on the link, go and buy a $1.99 item. And it's ROI positive for them to advertise on Google to make that happen. So the reason why these big brands are not rushing online is they have no way to connect these two worlds. So let's take Starbucks, for example. There's about 12 Starbucks within a mile of the hotel. It's like a scene out of Best in Show where the two folks meet at a Starbucks, but not the same Starbucks, the Starbucks across the street from each other. And the way that they do a lot of their advertising, in fact, they do buy some online ads, they have some e-commerce, but they use billboards. So if you look at a prominent San Francisco billboard, I think this one is at the intersection of 6 freeways in San Francisco, gets about 150,000 impressions a day, and they spend about $30,000 a month for that. But if you looked at the number of people just playing Candy Crush in the same square footage, we think you'll approach about the same number of people who could see a potential Starbucks ad. So our sort of question is, what happens if you enable Starbucks to show an ad in Candy Crush within a half a mile of a Starbucks and allow someone to measure the impression and the in-store experience? And we show some examples of how companies are actually doing this. Yeah, so our question is, how are companies kind of closing the O2O gap? A couple different ways of doing this, and this is not just about TrialPay, many different ways that companies are attempting to capture this opportunity. One is a company called Keep. They focus on in-game achievements. So if you've just reached a certain level and you want to level up, they actually present you with a real-world reward. In this case, it's a complimentary probiotic smoothie. You give them your email address, and they email you the coupon. You do have to take the coupon into the store. This is at Fuel Cafe, and actually redeem it. Pretty interesting way to connect real world with with online. There's a company called Shopkick. They focus on really going into a store and actually scanning SKUs. As you scan the various SKUs, you get loyalty points or points, and then you can redeem those points for discounts at those stores. Similar company called Plink. They do the same thing as Shopkick, but really on transactions. You actually have to buy something in the store, and as you buy something, you then earn rewards. One that we like in particular that impacts gaming is a company called Play Studios. They have a game called My Vegas, currently on Facebook, but they also have a mobile version coming out soon. And they have a really interesting model. It's a casino game in its own right, so people play the game because it's fun and you can advance in the game. But you can actually earn loyalty points, and those loyalty points can be put towards redeeming real-world rewards in Vegas. So they're actually backed by MGM. They've had about 500,000 people eligible to earn enough loyalty points to redeem for something of value. And they've had 50,000 people fly to Vegas and redeem one of those rewards. So I don't know if you can see it at the back there, but you can earn tickets to Cirque du Soleil, or a free night at the Mirage, or the One Cravings buffet pass, which sounds pretty cool. But this is pretty interesting. You've got MGM is funding these rewards. The rewards are ROI positive in that, if I have a free hotel or a free room at the Mirage, I'm much more likely to go this weekend than next weekend. Or if I go, maybe I bring a friend. If I go to a show, maybe I'll take the $200 that I would have spent on the show and spend it on the casino floor. And a lot of their inventory is actually inventory that expires anyway. It's a very clever way to connect these two worlds. And something that we think is pretty interesting. Crasta has a game called Covet Fashion. It's a sort of fashion discovery game. You put together virtual designs. The community votes on which designs are cool. And then the winning designs, you can actually win the items that you are designing around. So this is a kashimi bag. Am I saying that right? Anyone who knows something about fashion? And the winner in this particular round actually can actually claim that particular prize. From an advertiser perspective, you have brands that are actually getting exposure. People share these items inside of the app. They share them on Facebook. They share them on Pinterest. And then, of course, the people who win these prizes potentially buy other things in those stores. So a pretty cool way of connecting these two worlds. Gold, Run, and Ingress. These are folks that are kind of focused on the augmented reality space. So Gold Run is kind of a photo sharing site, photo sharing app. You basically play a game where you're walking around a city, taking photos of particular places in the game. And a lot of those photos are actually linked to brands. So they have this cool way of really playing the game, but while you're playing the game, you're exposing people to a new restaurant, a new item. And people actually really get into the game, and the fact that you can actually walk around in a city, play a game, and actually experience some of the stores in the city. And then Google has kind of a internal studio that has built a game called Ingress. It's still sort of coming out, sort of augmented reality game. No connection yet with commerce, but the whole point is how do you explore a city? How do you map things out? And the connection here between online and offline is pretty obvious. I think at some point when Google Glass becomes more available and their games, you can imagine the potential opportunities to connect these two worlds. This is actually something that TrialPay is doing. One of the things that we focused on is everyday shopping habits. So, we're pretty excited about the $2.5 trillion spent every year in stores. Every single person here who's on their phone right now is going to buy something in a store, probably today. And how do we make that habit part of your gaming habit? So this is a game where you can actually own stars, which is the virtual currency here, by going to Burger King. So there's 4,500 Burger Kings in the US and in Hawaii. I was recently in Hawaii. Apparently, it has the highest concentration of Burger Kings in any state. I'm not quite sure why. Maybe they're so far from the states that they want to have that taste of a hamburger. But the point is, these are ubiquitous retailers. This is live today. You can walk into any of these Burger Kings, swipe your credit card, and on that swipe, we will reward you with virtual currency. So this is a platform that's being rolled out right now to all of our kind of mobile and social customers. So the experience is actually pretty incredible. These are some photographs of some of our customers and employees who are, enjoying a cup of coffee. That's Andrew Shepard at Kabam. It's one of our employees at the Gap there. That's Kurt Burton from PopCap. And all these folks are in store enjoying something. And the experience is pretty incredible. The way that we capture the in-store transaction, we ask for the credit card inside of the game. We actually don't need the full 16 digits. We just need the last 5 to actually track the purchase. And then you walk into the store and you make a purchase. And we do it on the authorization of that transaction, which means that you're issued your virtual rewards, like your phone beeps, before you even sign the slip. It's a really cool experience. We actually have a demo out. If you just go to tryo2o.com, you can check it out at a Starbucks. It's outside of the context of a game. But if you sign up there, we'll give you a $10 Amazon gift certificate if you buy a cup of coffee at Starbucks. And our advertisers really enjoy this. If you go back to that Starbucks example, why is Starbucks putting up billboards on 101 and 280 when they really could be putting them in the game as you're walking past the Starbucks? So we think this is a really sort of important trend and building the infrastructure to kind of connect these two worlds. These are all live examples and obviously live customers. And just to get a sense for how big this market is, if you look at the market for retail sales originating online, outside of gaming, this is thriving. So over $1 trillion of in-store sales are web influenced. Now that's a pretty broad number. That's market research that I do before I go and buy my toaster or bicycle. It's ads. But people are obviously using online to make decisions offline. And there's a bunch of companies that are really taking advantage of this today outside of gaming. The whole notion of card-linked offers is pretty big. If you log into Bank of America, there's a bunch of companies that will show you offers linked to that credit card. So that same Burger King offer that you saw, you might discover it while you're checking your bank statement. We think, though, that's a very small set of eyeballs when compared to the people that are playing mobile and social games. And that's why we think there's a huge opportunity to take these types of deals and bring them into the gaming experience. A few other companies are doing some pretty cool things. Euclid is a company. These are the original guys that built Urchin, which is the Google Analytics engine. And they're actually mapping out physically inside of a store how people are walking through a store. So as you walk into a store, they have a Wi-Fi receiver. It connects to your phone. Still not quite sure whether the privacy folks are going to allow this, but then they can track you in the store just based on whether your phone accepts a Wi-Fi connection. And then they can map where people are walking in the store. So pretty cool way to figure out what people are doing. If they can connect that to an online user, they can actually determine whether or not I clicked on an ad yesterday on my phone and now I've walked into the store. This is just some of the advertisers that we're working with. These are the kind of genres that have worked out very well for us. Food is a big one. You can't really get your cup of coffee online. You really have to walk into a store. So Jamba Juice, Burger King, Buca de Beppo, we have a bunch more in the sort of quick serve category. Shopping, the whole kind of Banana Republic, Gap, Old Navy, Athleta brands are sort of ubiquitous stores. If you think about where gamers are playing games, certainly in the US, it's pretty easy to come across one of these stores. And then beauty has been a category that's spiked up for us. Over half of gamers are women. This is a really kind of special way for someone to actually treat themselves in a store and get that extra reward of an extra life in Candy Crush. The point we're sort of making to developers is, you collectively control the lion's share of digital attention. Gaming and entertainment is where people spend most of their minutes online and on their phone. And so, how do you make this $2 trillion real commerce opportunity part of your game? And that's the question that we're posing to folks. And if you want to chat with me after the presentation or at our booth, lots of different ways that we think that people are actually doing this. And as a trend, we think it's something to watch out for gamers. So, don't know if we have a few minutes for questions, but open for questions if you guys have any.
We do have a few minutes for questions. Questions for Terry? Ideas?
I was just wondering if there was any idea or thoughts around just including the payment as part of the game itself. So if you're walking by a Starbucks, instead of just kind of registering your card, you just click OK, and then you pick up your drink and your reward at the same time, all on the back end without pulling out a card at all.
Yeah, so that is coming. Starbucks just released some pretty interesting data about their shopping habits. So 30% of all of their transactions are linked to their loyalty program. That's the actual physical card and their app. And 10% of all of their transactions are on a mobile device through some sort of prepayment option. So for the right retailer, there's no reason why that Starbucks ad shouldn't be literally buy a cup of coffee right now. The app actually knows what your favorite drink is. Hit purchase. It's waiting for you. Then they actually know your name, and then you get rewarded in your game. So, there are a couple of retailers that we think are kind of leading the charge. Walmart isn't doing that yet. But as a trend, I think, especially in the sort of quick serve area, which is a huge part of the kind of food economy, that's making more and more sense. And from a Starbucks perspective, you have a lot more ownership of a customer if you can actually get them to either use your app or through our kind of mechanism register your card. They really like the kind of ownership they have over a customer.
Any other questions?
Hi there. Just wondering how you address the fill rate issue. So, the problem with density in terms of relationships you have with these brick and mortar stores. That's been something that we've been exploring on the local deal and local offering front.
Yeah.
And I'd be interested to hear your perspective on that.
Yeah. So we've if you look at sort of the KIP model, a lot of those rewards that you give out are sort of budget limited, right? There's a special promotion. The deals this is just what TrialPay is doing. The deals that we've structured are all ROI positive. So literally, if we sent Burger King 1 million customers, they want 1 million more. There's no limit to the number of customers we can send them, and each customer for them is ROI positive. Just some of the stats, the AOV on card-linked deals for Burger King is about $15. And their average AOV is about 10. So we're almost 50% higher than what they experience with someone walking off the street. I'm not quite sure why. Maybe gamers are extra hungry when they walk around. So that's ROI positive. In terms of density, that's a good question. So we focused on Jamba Juice, Burger King, Gap, but Buca di Beppo is a smaller regional Italian restaurant, right? We have to have more of those guys. And we may only show those offers in regions that where that makes sense. But it's the national retailers that really like this. There's a lot of interest from retailers on how to get people's attention. I mean, this is kind of a different example, but Samsung's promotion with Jay-Z's latest album, right? That's an example of where they took exclusive content that hadn't been released yet, and if you bought the Samsung phone, you had access to that album. What happens when kind of Walmart says, I want to drive people into a store, and if you do that, I'll give you, the latest version of Angry Birds or some other really mainstream game. You can do that via these tracking mechanisms. So that's where we think this is going, and pretty new. So we'll sort of watch the space.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Terry.
Great. Thanks, guys. And if you want to chat to us, we have a booth somewhere in the maze. You can find us.